Good evening to you both. And let's begin with an Alberta mountain town making its way forward. It was 1 year ago this week, a wildfire in Jasper National Park roared into the town site, taking out a third of the community. On Tuesday, residents gathered to mark the anniversary, many still grappling with the loss and the experience.
Even the weather can be so triggering when a thunderstorm comes through or when there's smoke in the sky.
Some days you feel strong and good, and other days like today, it's emotional.
1 year later, tourists are making their way back to Jasper.
I was on the train almost here from Vancouver, and we had to turn around in the middle of the night because of the fire and go back to Vancouver, and they sent us home. So we're trying again this year.
I visited here in 2010. A lot has changed, but it's great to be back here to see just how beautiful it is.
In terms of the views, it's still incredible. It's still amazing to be here, right?
Parks Canada says tourism was down 2% in May and June compared to last year before the fire hit, but people are coming back.
Town is busy, the park is busy, but there's always space for people to come and visit. We're actively inviting people to come and enjoy Jasper this summer.
Tourism Jasper says hotel occupancy has been running around 96%, providing steady income for the many businesses that remain. Danielle, what do you make of just how transitional a time this is right now in Jasper, both for those who call it home and those now choosing to come and visit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was hard for me to even believe it's been only a year. It feels like it's been longer, and yet when you think back, it's just that so much has happened. We've had all these wildfires in between. So I think, as we can see, the residents are really still going through a roller coaster. Having covered wildfires, it's quite an emotional and often really traumatic experience. So that road to recovery, that not feeling scared due to weather and other situations, that's going to be a while still.
Bob, how prepared do you think visitors should be for just how significantly different the landscape now is in the townside area? And do you expect that might end up being a bit of a deterrent?
Yeah, I think if most people that are going to go visit there, if they just do a little basic research on what happened and just kind of change your expectations. I mean, it's still one of the most beautiful places in the world. We're going up there in September to make up for the one we didn't get to go to last year, but I know it's changed. The residents are probably hopeful that people are coming back and dealing with everything that happened. But I'm really excited to go up the parkway and just go and camp. Even though our campground doesn't have many trees, maybe we'll take a plastic tree just to put up there to make it more. But I'm really excited. I think people should just change your expectation. Don't lower it, because it's one of the most beautiful places in the world.
Well, and without the trees at the campground, probably gives you even more of a view as to all of the valley around you. All right. Well, from Jasper south now to Kananaskis country, and an uncomfortable encounter. A Calgary couple on a wedding anniversary hike to Troll Falls stopped last weekend to take photos when a grizzly appeared on the trail. They started filming, backing away slowly, and the bear began to follow, rising onto its back legs as they picked up the pace.
Where it got really large and it showed its claws, and it felt like it was going to attack us. So that was really, really frightening.
And so I put up both my hands, made myself as large as possible, and just roared as loudly as I could.
That's when the bear left the trail, and they were able to make it back to their vehicle to warn other hikers and park officials. Experts say July is peak season for the buffalo berry crop, and bears already trying to fatten up ahead of hibernation.
So right now we've got, like I said, a lot of bears in the Kananaskis Valley. So anywhere you go, you can encounter a bear. Just as a rough count of between reports and some of our collared bears, I believe there was as many as, including cubs, 22 grizzly bears.
Now, as for Arneson and Ma, they will always carry bear spray on their hikes from now on. Bob, you're an adventurous sort. We know that. Now, in terms of being bear aware, how much pause for thought does this give you when it comes to heading out into the wilderness for a hike, when you go camping in September in the Jasper area?
Yeah, well, you always have to be aware, because you could see a bear or bears, and if you're around their food source, you could become their food source. So you have to be aware, you have to be prepared. Bear spray, I mean, these people were quite lucky to get away, and I'm happy for that. Other than that, just be really careful and look for signs that bears may be in the area. Check in with the rangers, do all the things you need to do. Don't just walk in because that's their territory, right?
So from your standpoint, Danielle, if there is a lesson to take away from this couple's scary encounter, what is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's that you do need to be aware of the situation. You need to make a lot of noise when you're out on a trail. Although, sometimes we lapse into silence. I was always taught growing up in the woods, you make sure you slam a tree if you're walking by yourself. You got bear bells. There's lots of ways to sort of alert the bears. I don't think you should be filming. I'm just going to say, these people had a little bit of ice water in their veins, just being able to keep the camera that still. As a journalist, I'm impressed, but I think we need to put our phones down and focus on the situation.
The conclusion this week to a high-profile sexual assault trial that has left advocates for victims disappointed but not surprised. The case involved 5 former members of Hockey Canada's junior team and an encounter that took place in a London, Ontario hotel room in the early hours of June 19th, 2018. A lengthy case that included a mistrial and the dismissal of the jury, leaving the verdict to the judge who found all 5 not guilty, saying the complainant, a woman referred to as EM, did not present credible or reliable evidence and that prosecutors could not meet the onus of proof. Mary Jane James with the Sexual Assault Centre of Edmonton calls it a complex case and says only about 6% of sexual assault victims pursue charges.
And what I'm fearful of is that there will be a ripple effect, that even more survivors will avoid the justice system.
Now, this sports culture professor says the case has created some positive discussion.
There's been some important changes to Hockey Canada and some important recognition of some of the problems and challenges within high performance sport and hockey in particular. And so I hope that those efforts will continue.
The behavior that they demonstrated in that room that night was reprehensible at best. And I hope that they will take this experience and go forward and have learned something from it.
The NHL says the 5 acquitted players are ineligible to play in the league while it reviews the judge's findings. Danielle, how much of a conversation do you see the outcome of this case driving around reform in the justice system? How do you see it landing with the public?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of the criminal justice lawyers I've been speaking to do think that this is going to happen. Naturally, from that angle, they have some concerns, as the judge's findings were well within the parameters of the law for reliability and credibility. Credibility would refer to truthfulness. Reliability would refer to accuracy. So that's what we're speaking with here. I think it's the Liberal government does have a lot of other things on their hands right now, but it depends on the public reaction. It very well could create some changes to our legislation, and we'll have to see.
Bob, what do you feel this ruling could mean for future cases involving complaints of sexual assault?
I'm going to have to side with Mary Jane and a lot of other leaders of sexual assault centers that you see speak out on this. It's just going to deter people from coming forward because, you put yourself out there and then you get cross-examined, and I don't know, it's just, I feel bad because it should be a little easier. I'm not sure how that's going to happen, but it's going to change, I think, for a little while at least. It's going to put a little stop on people coming forward.
Danielle, we heard the clip of Stacey Lawrence from the University of Alberta there a moment ago. So between Hockey Canada, minor hockey at local levels, significant changes have been implemented in recent years. Where do you feel the outcome of this case leaves hockey culture in general?
I do think that this was a needed conversation in hockey culture. So as a professor, I have many male students, and because we are in Canada, many of them have played hockey and we're in journalism. So we had a lot of discussions about these cases, and some of the conversations, some of what I heard from the young men was that they felt like there was a real change needed, regardless of the outcome of this trial, to how hockey culture would help perpetuate notions of what the academics call toxic masculinity, what I call just sort of unhealthy practices, especially when it comes to consent and behavior in situations like this.
Indeed. Okay, one more topic, and that is an apparent shift in how Albertans choose to unwind. According to Stats Canada, alcohol sales in Alberta dropped 1.4% in 2024, the steepest decline across the country. And here's what a polling firm found in asking people why.
In general, they're kind of keeping track of their health and alcohol not being consumed because they are focusing on their physical and mental health.
For others, the impact of inflation plays a role.
It's hard to find a good job. It's hard to afford housing. So if you're going to cut back on something, alcohol is an optional expense, a discretionary expense.
New trends are also emerging on the consumption front.
You know, I have 3 sons in their 20s, and when they come out for a beer, they have a beer, and then they have a non-alc, and then they have a beer, and then they have a non-alc. It's very different than when I grew up. That was not the case.
While booze consumption is down, cannabis sales in Alberta are up 7%.
So people can get 4 pre-rolls for the price of a beer or 2. You know what I mean? So the experience can last longer for them. They can enjoy a product longer than maybe just a single drink or 2.
Alberta, by the way, continues to lead the country in legal cannabis sales. Bob, so it appears fewer people are drinking, and those who are drinking are doing so less often. Surprised? It would be Albertans leading the way here?
No, I'm not surprised because a lot of people arriving in our province actually don't drink. Their culture doesn't really encourage them to drink. The breweries have responded with all these zero alcohol, like Graham's no people skills there. I've actually had it. It tastes just the same as beer. So I think they're responding. Alberta's always kind of, you never know what's going to happen, but I'm not surprised that we're drinking less because we used to drink a lot.
But we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. Danielle, what do these changing habits, though, in alcohol consumption reflect to you? Is it as simple as economics?
I think economics are playing a huge role in it, but we also have a generation that, graduated high school during the pandemic, don't tend to socialize as much. And so alcohol, that was a common factor on campuses when I was in school. But if you're not socializing as much, then it's also probably healthier not to be drinking as much. And thankfully, I think that people are more aware of the effects of alcohol. The cannabis, however, isn't necessarily a positive situation. I mean, people who are under 25 consuming cannabis are at higher risks of things like schizophrenia. So I'm not entirely sure we're going in the right direction.
All right. On that note, we will have to leave it there. Thank you both. Hope you have an awesome weekend.
Thanks. Have a great weekend.